Hi guys, Kari Larson here with the Yes Lifestyle, coming to you today to talk about creating your own sourdough starter. Now, whether you're creating a gluten-free sourdough starter, a regular flour-based sourdough starter, or even a teff flour starter, which is used for things like injera bread with Ethiopian food, the base principles are the same regardless. So what I have here is some basic flour, just an all-purpose organic flour, and I'm gonna add equal parts flour and water. Once you do this, you can actually, the first time especially, just get your hands in there and mix it around. There's nothing wrong with that, and it helps to really aerate the flour and get it exposed to the environment. The way a sourdough rises and bubbles is caused by natural fermentation. That fermentation is caused by natural yeast being taken on by the environment around it. So it's going to take the yeast that are in the environment I currently live in to start to create its carbon dioxide and ferment. So we're going to stir this together. Now, one really important thing is use filtered water. Do not use just straight tap water, because if you have chlorine or fluoride in your tap water, that'll inhibit the ability of the yeast to grow and ferment. And that's what gives it its rise. So you never, in a typical traditional sourdough bread, you don't need to ever add yeast to the recipe because it has its own natural yeast. So I'm just gonna mix this up. You always wanna mix in some sort of glass or plastic container, something that's non-reactive. And once you have it good and mixed, that's it. You're gonna take this, you're gonna put it into a glass jar or container of some sort, and you're gonna let it sit covered in plastic wrap or a lid. Let it sit for 1 to 3 days. Once it's sat for 1 to 3 days, when you look at it, you should see bubbles in the combination. Those bubbles is the start of the carbon dioxide being created by the yeast. Once you start to see that after a day, 2 days, most 3 days, you're gonna come back in, you're gonna remove half of your starter. Now you can use that, create sourdough pancakes, anything like that. I'm gonna post a recipe for you on those. And then what's remaining, you're gonna feed and add back to again. So if you used a cup of flour and a cup of filtered water to create your initial combination, take 1 cup out, add a half a cup flour, half a cup of water back in. So it's equal parts flour to water, regardless of the type of flour you're using. And you're gonna feed that back in. Again, the next day, 24 hours, take out half, feed it back in. What's gonna happen is it's gonna build and create strength to that starter, so it has good strength to create a rise for your bread. This is a combination of actually a gluten-free flour starter that I've been feeding, and you can see it was here, I fed it, it's all bubbly, it's reacting, it's enjoying those new fresh flours that I've given it, and it's risen up to here just from the bubbling in the jar itself. So again, this is a gluten-free flour. So you can do it with either regular flour or gluten-free flour, but give it a try. After about a week, you should have somewhat of a vigorous starter going. If you fed it every day, then you can start to make your bread with it. Now, if you don't want to make bread right away, or you don't want to make it daily, after you feed it one day, let it sit out for about an hour, let it start to react, get its bubbles going, and then you can put it in the refrigerator. That'll retard the reaction, slow it down, and then you can keep it refrigerated for a week and just pull it out a day in advance, let it warm up a little bit, feed it, get it going again so you can use it for your bread. It just depends on how often you're wanting to use it and bake. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. Get out there, try your sourdough, get your starter going, and I look forward to sharing more recipes for sourdough with you in the future. Thanks for joining me, Kari Larson with the Yes Lifestyle.